on this computer. Back to recording. So we want to continue what we began. We were talking about the passive. We discussed the passive, and the skill that we took was use the correct form of the passive. Okay, so we have to pay attention to the verb itself, whether it's correct or not here. That's what we mean by the correct form, right? Now, the next lesson, okay, or the next skill is about what? Recognizing active and passive meanings. We already, by the way, spoke about this. We spoke about this. This we have already discussed, but let's just work with the examples that we have. What does this mean? Recognize active and passive. Like, when is our sentence, when is our sentence going to be passive? When it's going to be active? We have to read, the sentence, focus on the subject itself. Let me enlarge this. We have to, focus on the subject itself. Ask yourself, does the subject do the action? Look at the action. Can this subject, whatever it is, the letter, me, we means me and my brothers and sisters, me and my colleagues, maybe, can we do this action? Ask yourself, if you can do the action, if the subject can do the action, then make it active. If the subject cannot do the action and receives the action, make the verb what? Passive. Okay, we already talked about this, and there are, lots of examples here that we need to work with or work on, okay, to better understand, how to recognize active and passive meanings. So when there is no object with or without by, sometimes we have, by helps us. When we see by like this, by object, we know that this is a passive sentence. But what if they say there's a sentence without by after a verb? You must look at the meaning, See, that's why meaning is good, should be focused on of the sentence to determine if the verb, to determine means like to decide. Determine means to decide. If the verb, نقرر, if the verb should be active or passive. So بدنا ننتبه للمعنى, إذا بدنا حتى نقرر, إنه بدي أستخدم passive ولا active. Active يعني مبني للمعلوم. Passive يعني مبني للمجهول. جملتي الactive, بستخدم الجملة active في حال إنه السبجكت اللي هو الاسم ببداية الجملة هذا بيقوم بهذا الحدث، متأكدة أو متأكد إنه بيقدر يقوم بهذا الحدث. هون we mailed، نحن أرسلنا بريديا. mailed معناها أرسلنا بواسطة البريد. we mailed. نقدر إحنا نعمل mailing؟ نعم، إحنا البشر نقدر. so correct. بس بصير تقول the letter mailed. no, the letter يعني الرسالة مش mailed بعثت بريديا، انبعثت بريديا. which means بنستخدم أسلوب الباسيف بهاي الحالة, right? so we say the letter was mailed, passive, right? By whom? By me, by us, by someone, etc. right? This is something that I want you to pay attention to. One moment, please. Okay, so let's continue. We need to look at the meaning of the verb, etc. Sentences with an incorrect passive verb, an incorrect passive verb, or no by object, to tell you that the verb should be passive are the most difficult passive errors to recognize on the TOEFL. So these are, sometimes there are, sometimes you might have problems. And they're difficult. Do you know why they're difficult? Because there's no by object sometimes. But I don't think they're difficult. I think that you can tell. Look at this sentence, for example. We're going to go, through these sentences one by one. We mailed the package at the post office. Correct. It's a correct sentence. Not because there isn't a star, because it's fine. We, نحن, أنا وإنتو سوا. يعني رحنا والله سوا على وين؟ البوست office اللي هو البريد. mailed معناته بعثنا بريديا guys. ايش the package اللي هي box guys فيه أغراض يعني, all right, كتب, I don't know, gifts, I don't know, okay, something like that. We mailed what? The package. Where? At the post office. Look at the second sentence. The letter, الرسالة. أكيد الرسالة ما راح تعمل mailing, فما بنحط mailed, لكن انبعثت بريديا. was mailed by us, من قبلنا, today, اليوم, بس before noon, قبل الظهر, يعني before الساعة 12, قبل الساعة 12. The letter was mailed today, ها هون بس الفكرة إنه ما فيش by us، نفس الجملة بس ما في by us before noon. يعني لو هاي بالامتحان إجتكم سؤال وصدقا think about it. The letter وحطيت لكم خيارات A and B was mailed or mailed. Which one would you choose؟ مش لأنها موجودة. Think about the meaning guys. Was mailed ولا mailed؟ mailed معناها بعثت بريديا. هاي هي بتبعث بالبريد، هاي اللتر الرسالة. و was mailed معناها بعثت، تم بعثها. اوكي، فبدنا نعرف الفرق بالمعنى so that you know we can make the right choice. اوكي، يعني إذا ما بنعرف هاي القوانين وهاي المعاني of course we're gonna make the wrong choice. okay. And we're going to end up saying the letter is like a man, sends things and goes and comes, and like a woman too, all right, like a human being. So be careful, guys, okay? Look at this. The letter mailed, today before noon. Okay, so look at this mistake. See, look at the star, the asterisk here. It means this is wrong because the letter can't mail. The letter mailed. Why? Is it a human being to mail? All right, and in the past, so the letter, was mailed today before noon. Okay, although we don't have by object like here to know, but how do you know? As they said, based on what does it say? Based on what? Here it is.
Meaning.
Look at the meaning of the sentence.
Meaning of the
Right. Yes.
Yes.
So we did that. Okay, the first three examples here, these three, the ones that are correct, above are correct. The first example, this one over here, has the active verb, mailed. This is an active verb, okay? Used with the object, what? The package. The second example, the letter was mailed, has the passive verb. This is passive, was mailed, right? With by us, here it is, to help me. The third sentence, you know, this one's kind of hard. Why? Because we don't have by us to help me, but I have to determine what to put in, you know, as a verb, let me say, the verb, you know, through what? The meaning of the sentence, all right? So this one, the third sentence, we said has the passive verb was mailed, used without an object. See, the fourth example, this one over here, which is incorrect, is the type of passive error that appears most often on the TOEFL. So you will have something like this in the exam, here in the exercises, to say that this is incorrect and you know, decide like how to fix it. Okay. So the fourth example is that kind of, you know, example that you have to really pay attention to. All right, so to correct the fourth example, the active needs to be changed to passive like this. To change it, to make it correct, was mailed, and then things are fine. To determine that such a sentence is incorrect, you must study the meaning of the subject and verb. See, guys, how you must study the meaning? So, yani, these verbs are not hard, guys. And they're repeated. That's why the more you study, the more examples you study, the better TOEFL, you know, exercises and questions get for you, you know, and become, you know, and they're not going to be hard anymore. You must ask yourself if the subject does the action of the verb. Ask yourself, the subject in this sentence, does it do the action? Like I told you guys, do the letters do this action? Say no, then don't use active, use passive. So an active verb is needed. Or if the subject receives, ask yourself, does the subject, like the word at the beginning of the sentence, does it receive the action? يعني بتطبق عليها الحدث. Okay, that's what it means, receives the action. يعني مفعول به. So a passive verb is needed. ولذلك ساعتها الverb بده يكون passive. In the incorrect example, في هذا المثال الخطأ اللي هون, you should study the meaning of the subject and verb, the letter mailed. You should ask yourself, لازم نسأل نفسنا, if a letter mails, الرسالة بتبعث بريديا itself? No, the letter does not do this action, you know, and if not, or if someone mails a letter, ونسأل حالنا, هل هو الشخص اللي بيقوم بهذا الإشي بيودي بريديا ببعث بريديا؟ نعم طبعا. So the letter receives the action, بقع عليها الحدث of being mailed. اللي شو هو الحدث؟ بأنه يتم إرسالها بريديا. Since a letter does not mail itself, the passive is required in this sentence. لكونها الرسالة ما بتبعث نفسها. You know, ممنوع إنه نستخدم الactive ولازم نستخدم أكيد الpassive هو المطلوب. So this is the chart. And the chart as usual كلاتنا بنعرف صارت الchart familiar إلنا. بتلخص, you know, it summarizes the rules. And here we go. In the active, the subject اللي هي أول اسم يعني باعتبار بداية الجملة does the action of the verb. In the passive, السبجكت اللي هي الكلمة اللي قبل الفعل اللي بداية الجملة receives the action of the verb. يعني بقع عليها الحدث. بتكون زي مستلمة للحدث. Okay. So نطلع على هاي الجمل. Let's do from 1 to 5 here. بعدين بنروح from 6 to 10. Okay. Let's choose one from here. نختار واحدة من هدول الجمل to fix them, to correct them if they're correct. If they're not correct, I mean if they're correct, we just want to say correcto. خلود, Dr. خلود.
So, number 3.
Number 3.
Everything to organize the picnic has already done. At first, it should be in passive. Everything to organize the picnic has already done. لكن الفعل غلط. Everything to organize the picnic has already
طبعا هاي
done.
Dr. خلود, yes, you are right. انتي حليتي has already been done, like you said, correct. So it's incorrect. هاي incorrect, خطأ.
Yes, incorrect, yes.
بس السبجكت مش كلمة واحدة, لاحظوا. Everything to
recognize. Yes.
طبعا بدي احكي لكم شغله. It's really everything. هي الاساس, السبجكت هون عندي everything, كل شيء. كل شيء. لكن انا prepositional phrase, كل شيء بخص عمليه تنظيم الرحله او النزهه. نروح لنزهه يوم الجمعه مثلا, تعرف في ناس بيطلعوا نزهه يوم الجمعه, فبقولوا everything to organize the picnic, الامور المتعلقه بالنزهه مالها. طبعا اكيد هي ما بتتصرف, ما بتعمل اكشن, فلازم تكون passive guys, right? الامور المتعلقه بالنزهه بتعمل عمل. No, we let me say do things to organize the picnic. So this is passive. لازم تكون passive. فpassive مش المشكله انه passive, correct. بس هلا نطلع الباسيف هاي صح. has already, has done. احنا اصلا has وhave وhad شو بدهن من هون؟ شو بدهن
been.
So المشكلة here with the structure هي passive, اتفقنا, because everything to organize the picnic, الأمور المتعلقة بالرحلة أو لتنظيم الرحلة,
ترتيبات الرحلة.
Exactly. Has already, هاي إضافية already, يعني بتشجع العمل إنه خلصناه وانتهينا. Okay. Been done. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Khulud. One more. Dr. Islam, which one do you want to do?
Yes, doctor. I will select number 5.
Go ahead.
The package containing the necessary samples has just sent. It's incorrect because it should be has been or has. Yes,
thank you.
There's a deficit.
You guys are amazing. MashaAllah. So all of you guys have understood. When the subject in the sentence does not do the action of sending, see, it can't send itself, right? So this sentence should be passive. So it's correct in it's passive. Fine. This is not the problem. The problem is in the structure of the verb now that is passive, right? So the package containing the necessary samples, يعني الباكج اللي هو الظرف, تعرفوا بالمستشفيات بيكون فيه packages, right? وشو ماله هذا الباكج containing the necessary samples, بيحتوي على samples. يعني samples عينات, المرادة المطلوبة. هاي this is the subject, the package that contains the necessary. بعدين containing, that contains, which contains, عملناها containing. تتذكروا لما أخذنا about clauses and how they're flipped into, we delete some of the part of the clause. Yeah. Anyway, has just like this one, has just been sent. Has just been sent. With has, have, had, we need been, and then we need verb 3, sent. تم بعثه للتو, just معناها للتو. اوكي, يعني مش من زمان, حتى صح بعثنا بس مو من زمان كتير. all right, يعني لسه من دقايق, يعني something like that. Let's do one more and then we will take a look at our, do a little bit of revision. يلا. Some revision and then we yes, Dr. Hiba, which one do you want to do out of these? I'll help you out by yes. Make a choice.
Okay, doctor,
one more.
Number 10. Question number 10. When the roads are icy, the buses do not drive. So the buses do not drive should be passive. So the buses are not driving. Sorry.
Good job.
Yeah.
Are not. This is not how to formulate a passive. First of all, the buses, they don't do the action. Here, when the roads are icy, this is like, phrase on the side. لما الشوارع تكون, icy, يعني عليها جليد. Okay? شو بصير؟ بعدنا ما حكينا السبجكت على فكرة. The buses is the subject. But the buses do not do the action. They receive the action. Do you know why? Because we're talking about drive. بنحكي عن السواقة. أكيد هن ما بيسوقوا حالهم. So passive. بس the correct form of passive مش هيك. لما نحكي ما بنساءه بالإنجليزي مش هيك are، لأنه بتعرفوا إحنا لازم نرجع للستراكشر تاع إيش ال present passive مش do. طبعا هون بيلعبوا هم بالأفعال عشان يشوفوا بتعرفوا ولا لا. مش do are. تتذكروا present passive are. الستراكشر تاع الباسيف بالpresent بكون في يعني verb to be يا am يا is يا are. ليش are؟ لأنه buses جمع. ما بقول is، ما بقول am لأنه مش I subject. It's look plural. So buses are not. حلو عادي بقدر أحط نفي بدي أنفي. It's okay ما بنساءه لأنه بدي أقول are not. and the drive هاي لازم تكون
driven.
تلفظ driven.
sorry.
verb 3 driven. بس بنضيف n واللفظ طبعا ببطل تخفيف على الاي لانه بنقول drive كفعل، لكن driven كverb 3 هيك تنلفظ. اوكي
حلو.
yeah. All right, so do you want to do another sentence or do we want to move on to the revision right now? A little bit of revision. So هيك بنكون خلصنا guys passive. Okay, وإن شاء الله إنه the passive was nice and something that was interesting and that you have covered now and understood very well. We want to take a look at some exercises that we have already discussed or skills that we have discussed, and I'm going to stop recording, honestly speaking, right now because we don't want to discuss this in the recording.